Good, sorry, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, kings and queens of the land. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to all the spirits of our ancestors, the black people. Good afternoon to all the royals. Good afternoon to all the visitors, if we have visitors. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Mngoni Mkonto, and this is the Royal Opinion. You've come just at the right time, perfect time. We have it started. Our subject today, we're talking about Orania, and we will also touch into the issue of the Democratic Alliance and Mr. Ronaldo. Click the like button and subscribe. Sorry. Click the like button and subscribe. That would be nice. You can also join and become the member of the Royal Opinion for as little as 39 Rand 99. Queen Africa in the basket says, "Hi King, hi Queen there. I know it's a she. Hi Queen." Everybody else can just say, "Tell me your status. Are you a queen or are you a king who is watching?" This is the family of royals. Hence, we call it the royal opinion. Queen Dimakato. Welcome, Queen. Your Majesty King Kondo, hail to the kings and queens of the land. Right in time, Dimakato, we're still even greetings to all the queens. We want to send our greetings to you as well, Queen Dimakato. Thank you for joining. Thank you for coming through. Our subject, I think let's get into the matter that we want to talk about today. The Orania, the concept of Orania. There has been a conversation of whether we should Orania represent um, apartheid or Orania should be left alone. There has been recently conversations about Orania, and there has been conversations about if you don't know what is Orania, let me just first explain what is Orania. Orania is a city, if we may call it, or a little state which the Afrikaner community have established in the Northern Cape, in the Karoo, alongside the Orange River. Uh, Sustaining the community, it's actually basically the Orange River. It was just a little desert there, and there Afrikaner community or somebody who had a vision of putting together people of the same thoughts, people of the same color, people of the um, same language, put them together, people who share the same vision, uh, put them together, let them become self sufficient. The concept of Orania is about self-sufficiency. The sufficiency, they've got their own electricity. I think in the country they've got the fastest internet, Orania. They are not receiving services from the state. They contribute on the community among themselves, but the criteria for accepting people in Orania is the, the most controversial one. You need to apply, but the most controversial criteria is uh, your banner say subscribe. Let me change it. Let me change it. Thank you, there, Queen. Thank you for alerting. Okay, actually. Thank you very much, dear Queen, for the alert. Beyond the business says, good afternoon, Royals. Thank you very much for everyone for joining. We're talking about Orania and we're talking about the apartheid DA and their racist, what we call MP who is supposed to go to parliament. But now we're actually talking about Orania. Orania, uh, I was still saying they are controversial. The most controversial rule of Orania, if you want to be accepted in Orania, it's you need to be a white person, and secondly, you need to be an Afrikaner or have an interest. If you are a white person, have an interest in the in the Afrikaner culture. That is the requirements for Oranian to be able to accept you as a resident in Orania. So many people find this controversial, and many people think this is actually a wrong concept. I have a different opinion about it. I think Orania is a very great concept where if basically this is how black people were living before. The concept which Orania is has adapted. It's how black families were living their lives before. uh, a grouping of a particular family, uh, though it was not from as they are doing from different families in the African culture. A grouping of a particular family would be uh, forming will be self-sufficient and would be self-governing. They wouldn't be requiring anything from the state. Orania is the same concept. They don't require any services from the state. They are self sufficient. The concept of Orania is self sufficiency. So, Orania is self sufficient. They don't require anything from the state. But the people, South Africa still tax the people from Orania. They still pay tax to to South Africa. Basically, if we have to when we talk about the concept of Orania, uh, it's the end of politics if you talk about the concept of Orania, because what it means, what politics means, it's a group of people who says they've got um, uh, power to help you build schools, power to help you feed your children, or power to help you educate your children, and you can pay tax on them. So, if you don't require anything from the state, if you don't require uh, uh, any service from the state, if you are self sufficient, that state does not have a right to tax you. They don't have a right to tax you. Um, Families were self sufficient and families were self governing. The family head or the king uh, was actually respected and born into a position. So the concept of Orania is actually not new. It's how black people were living their lives before the arrival of white people in South Africa. Families were independent and living on mutual respect. Orania, there are no slaves in Orania because there is no white black people who are working in Orania. The concept of Orania is only white people are working there. So there is no slave working in Orania. They don't practice apartheid. They don't practice slavery. Unlike outside Orania, though it's not openly said, slavery is the order of the day, is practiced slavery in a most intense way outside Orania. But in Orania, it's people who work together based on mutual respect. They are all of the same color. If Orania is allowed to exist, if Orania is allowed to exist, it will be the end of politics. If Orania get its independence or autonomous status, it will be the end of politics, because politics have been set up uh, by people who say they will provide you with the security, they will provide you with health facility, they will provide you with education for your children and the infrastructure, um, basic services that they promise to provide uh, when you set up the state. But if all these services are provided by a particular family and there's no need for the state to provide any service in the community, then the community should be autonomous, should be able to self govern. Orania, Makazo says Orania is the original template for Bantu people, self-reliant and organic living. It's through Queen Makazo. Orania is actually a copy and a paste of how Black people were living their lives. Based on mutual respect, Black people were living. When the kingdoms were uniting, they were uniting based on, that is why they were arranged marriages, because kingdoms were uniting based on family values. So the people who know the family values and the family direction are the ones who determines who should marry who. Uh, that was the reason why they were arranged marriages in the African culture, uh, because people who share the same vision, who will not delay each other or misunderstand each other most of the time, uh, be allowed to be together. Young people are normally not so clever enough to be able to realize uh, what kind of environment am I going to be putting myself in. So initially, they were arranged marriages by families. Uh, Mainly because of this self-governing institutions. People who do not require food from the state, people who don't require water from the state, they take straight from the river and clean. They don't require any banking system from the state. They've got their own banking, their own bank. They've got companies that are running their cleaning companies, security companies, and crime in Orania is it's actually at zero. They say it's actually at zero. There's not even crime there. So should Orania be allowed to discriminate based on color? Orania should be allowed to discriminate based on color, just like families are allowed to discriminate based on surnames. Church members allowed to discriminate based on association in the church. Uh, Orania should be allowed to discriminate based on color. This is what we call self determination. But self determination, I can define it in two ways. Self determination as defined by the criminals. When I say self determination as defined by the criminals, I mean, I don't know if this you will be able to see. Hey gosh, you can see, man. Oh, it's because of this blurry. Let me quickly check if I can change that. Say no. Okay, let's see if you can see that. When I talk about definition of self-determination according to criminals, I mean these guys, you know them. I can't mention them by name, I will have problems. So I must use this. I mean these guys, uh, uh, the one who are pursuing this thing, this thing which they are pushing for, these guys that I'm talking about, because I can't mention it by name. Divination, according to those guys that I have shown you on the screen, the criminals. I call them the criminals, and when I call criminals, think of these guys. When I say criminals, think of these guys. Okay, divination of self-determination, according to the criminals, it was basically them dividing themselves with other, uh, uh, dividing Africa, for instance, uh, conquering Africa. When they say South Africa has got a right to self-determine, it's when they say the Britain has got a right to put borders uh, in in South Africa as their colony. Self-determination have been used by Britain to conquer their colonies. They have created kingdoms in Africa that are still strong even today. They've created kingdoms in South Africa that are still standing and strong based on this self-determination concept by the organization that was on the screen. Those people, the Makatsu saying Makulu face red heart shape. Mamkulu face red heart shape. Okay, thank you, Mamkulu's face. Um, talking to beyond the business, which is always precious there. So self determination, according to those people that we showed on the screen, for those who were not here, these guys, it was just dividing colonies or dividing the world into colonies. France, England, the Romans, uh, the Americans, under the American Empire, dividing the world, dividing Africa into smaller parts, dividing Africa into 54 parts in order to share among themselves in the name of self determination, saying the people of South Africa have a right to self determine. The kingdoms of Lesotho and the kingdom of Swaziland was captured also on the same concept of self-determination. If you if you become our subject, then we will allow you to become a kingdom, to become self-determinate, determinant. We allow you to rule over others if you become our subject. That was what is self determination according to the charter of those people. But according to me and my understanding, self determination means allowing people to determine how they want to live their life, allowing people and space to determine what they want to be, whether they want to be a man, whether they want to be a woman, whether they want to stay alone without any pressure. Self determination, according to my understanding, is allowing people to self govern. It's allowing self governance up until to the individual up until to the individual level. Orania is a group level of independence. Let me read. King is making me crack with laughter with those criminal tags. Face blue, smiling face and smiling face blue smile. What are we gonna do, Queen? What are we gonna do? We don't have a choice. There's nothing we can do. We just have to name them like that so that the criminals are not aware of what we are up to. Uh, they are this one. This one is implemented here in South Africa. This one, it's already implemented. There are riots in Kenya as well. Yesterday there were riots in Kenya because of this one, which is getting implemented also in Kenya. South Africa and Kenya are very very important countries for these criminals. These criminals are very much ahead of what we can think. And this one, it's actually created to keep uh, those people uh, in power. It's created to keep them in power. You will have to watch the screen if you want to understand what we're talking about. If you are not watching the screen, I know the algorithm does not watch the screen. Hey, let me tell you who represent these people. This one, he has signed up. He's signed up with these ones a long time ago. He's been working for them a long time ago. That's why they implemented it here. It's a very important country, entry to Africa. They had to put their men there, my daddy there, my daddy, my father there. They had to put him in power so that they can be able to implement this guy here. Yeah, yes. So it's fully implemented, and also in Kenya as well, under President Ruto, it's fully implemented there. So we're still talking about our self governance, about self governance or self determination. Self determination means allowing people to choose whom they want to stay with, allowing people to choose whom they want to associate with, allowing people to choose who they want to be, uh, allowing people to choose what sex do they want to be. I mean, male or female or otherwise, allowing people to self-determine, because you can't really tell how a person is feeling when you are outside their body, isn't it? You can't really tell. If I say, if you look at me and I say I feel like a woman, you can't really tell that is true or a lie. So you should allow me to self-determine in that regard, allowing people to be what they want to be, allowing people to associate with the people they want to associate, and allowing people to be independent of any structure that wants to be on top. That is self determination. allowing families to raise their children without threats of arrest by the police when they punish their children, or when they not necessarily punish, when they show direction to their children, allowing people to do that, self determination. Orania uh, talks about avoiding social engineering. One of the issues that Orania is actually built on, it's actually to retain to retain, or to uh, preserve the right English, let me say. It's actually to preserve the Africana culture, to preserve the Africana heritage, to preserve the Africana history, to preserve the Africana himself as a human being. The concept of Orania is to preserve all of those. Once you open for one black person in Orania, then you have open for uh, social engineering, because a black person um, will start to socialize with the people in Orania because it's a peaceful place there. And then when they socialize, one black person can change the community, all the community in 50 years. In about 100 years time, you might find half of the population in Orania is black, because all the children that are going to be born from the black man or the black woman are going to be black. So it's that is a new breed or social engineering, which actually the these people, these ones, they want to avoid. These people, they want to avoid the disappearance of this guy. I want to show you which one. This guy, I'm trying to take him up. This one is going to disappear if he's not preserved. It's going to disappear if he's not preserved, because if his child sleep with the other guy, the other guy becomes, the child becomes the other guy. So this one must be preserved. Him and the rhino are actually in the same problem. They are actually facing is extinction. These two animals are facing extinction. This animal here and the rhino. That's why they love the rhino so much. It's because this animal and that animal are facing the same extinction. So if they allow for the other people that I should be mentioning, I don't have a problem mentioning by name, which are black people. If they allow those ones, they are going to cause a lot of problems there. They will cause social engineering, which will create a lot of problems uh, for the Afrikaners there. So they want to avoid social engineering, and they want to preserve an Afrikaner for him to have a future in this world. Is it something bad to ask for? I don't think so. if they if really if they want to uh, exist peacefully with other cultures, staying side by side with other people who are also self-determining. What is the problem of allowing the Afrikaner community to exist the way they want to exist and to self-govern if they want to self-govern? To form a kingdom if they want to form a kingdom. What is the problem to allow the Afrikaner community to do that? Why can't they be allowed to do that? Why can't a family be allowed to form a kingdom? Families should be allowed to form kingdoms. Why can't a family be allowed to form a kingdom? Why can't a group of people who think the same way be allowed to buy a land uh, and take their children, determine how their children should go to school, determine how they should create their food, determine what kind of food they should eat? Why is it a problem if people do that? If communities becomes like that, then politics become irrelevant. Politics is about governing people with a promise of providing them of services that those people are not able to provide to themselves. Once everybody is able to provide every service to his family, then the government becomes irrelevant for those people, and the government does not have a right to go on and collect tax to people whom they are not contributing in any way to their life. So more black people should adopt the concept of Orania to create future kingdoms. The concept of Orania, it's a good and perfect concept to create a kingdom, to create more kingdoms in South Africa, to allow more families to become kingdoms, self-determining, self-determining themselves, who should lead them, who should uh, what kind of food they should be eating, what kind of farming they should be doing, self determining what relationships they can form with other families or other kingdoms or other groupings. Self determination. That is the real self determination that that human beings can be allowed to have. I love the concept of Orania because that is an example of what human beings can do on their own without government. If that concept is allowed, then black people would be foolish to still depend on government. People should form groupings and self-determine where their future, self-determine the people they want to stay with, the people they want to stay with or around them. Queen Dimakato saying, very true, king. Self-determination is true liberation. These politicians will not give. Self determination is true liberation. not the self-determination that the UN mean when they say people are self-determining when they make referendums. If the Oranian people were saying they want to self-determine because they have determined or they found out their resources in Orania and they want to exclude other people from access to resources, then that is criminals. These people, they work like that. When they talk about self determination, they work like that. They have determined that there are resources in a particular place and they want to take those resources. Like there are resources now in South Africa. Uh, they want uh, the same people. This one, they want it independent in the name of self determination. But the reason they want this one independent in the name of self determination is because there are resources there. There's an ocean, the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean meeting there at that point. From that point, it's a very strategic. President Zuma said that is the second very important strategic point in the whole world. So when they say they want self-determination, they mean when they take over areas like that. That is criminals. That's how criminal works. But when we talk about self determination, not to exclude others because you found that there are resources in their place, and then you say you want to self determine because you want to exclude others from the resources. That is criminality. Self determination means people who are honestly want to preserve themselves or their culture, or they want to preserve their color, or whatever they want to preserve about themselves, be allowed to do so, so that they can exist in the future if they want to exist. I think that should be a given thing. People should be allowed to do so. Uh, Now, let me talk about the issue of the other guy, of the DA, the Ronaldo issue. The DA has suspended Ronaldo, you know him. Let me not mention his name because I may not mention it in a correct way. But this is the politicians who called black people the K word, or what they call the K word, um, and then now the DA has suspended him from the list of the people who were going to parliament. Uh, this is nonsensical. This is actually a mockery of black people. When they want to exclude their own person, using black people to using black emotions and black people to implement what they want to implement. The the DA wanted to remove Hosen or Hoes or Ronaldo I don't even know how to pronounce his his surname. But they always don't know how to pronounce our surname as well. They will forgive me for not knowing, because I've forgiven them a lot of times for not knowing how to pronounce our surnames. They should have the same understanding. So they got him suspended from the list of people who are from the DA. Got him suspended from the DA, which is a mockery in the face of black people. Because in the first place, uh, if this guy is calling black people the K word, it's not a problem. It does not uh, take black people anywhere, even if they call you a king or a queen, which they will never do. It does not uh, determine exactly your destination. Whatever he calls, if he calls a human being a monkey, is the one who is a fool, because you are a human being. Is the one who is got a twisted thinking, not you. So the guy has got no material impact in black people's life. Whatever he says about black people being kephas or being have to go and die or whatsoever, it did not have any material impact on black people. That is why there was nothing happened since he said it. It's immaterial. But what is material is the structural uh, apartheid, which DA is advocating for. The DA does not want land to be expropriated without compensation, but they want to act like they love black people. They don't like people who are racist. When somebody like that talk nonsense, I think people who are talking nonsense should just identify these people who are talking nonsense. They should not be identified as racist, because racism, it's a system. A one person cannot be a racist. A single person cannot be a racist, because racism is a system of governance. Racism is a system of governance. It's like communism. It's like capitalism. It's a system. It cannot be implemented by a single person. And one person, by saying somebody is a house Negro, does not mean that person is a racist, because you can't be a racist by just saying words. Racism is practiced through a system of putting other people and taking other people's resources to help others who have got nothing to do with those resources. That is racism. Discrimination, that's how it's practiced. The DA stands for all of those, but act like they love black people by suspending Ronaldo for saying black people are K-word, which for me does not make sense at all. Give us your opinion. My name is Mngoni Mkonte, and you are in the Royal Opinion. Click the like button and subscribe. We came in here to talk about two issues. The first one was the issue of Orania, which we've already elaborated in details. And now we were talking about the issue of the DA guy who is calling people. The structure of racism still remains even when they remove that person. Queen Makato say King, it's immaterial, because that guy and many like him, they live in their own invention, corrupted mind, dishing spoiled food, lunatics. It's true, those are just lunatics, Queen. And we don't have to pay attention to them because they have no material impact on black people. We don't have to worry about what they say because it does not have any material impact on black people. What would have a material impact on black people? It's when they implement the policy that they say they want black women to have tenders in South Africa. If they implement those policies, if they appoint indeed women-owned companies in government tenders, that would have an impact in the life in the life of the black people. If they allow black people to be in mining, if they allow black people uh, to be in manufacturing companies, support them to be in manufacturing companies, it would have imperial, material impact on the ground. That is not advocated for by the DA, but they want to pretend like something which is useless. They want to act right on something which is useless for black people. Whether they act right or they act wrong, it does not matter because it's totally immaterial on the life of a black person. Whatever he says. Apartheid or racism cannot be an individual. Racism is a system. Racism is a system of governance which discriminate economically, mainly according to color. It's racism. So racism is practiced in South Africa. It's continuing to be in the constitution of the republic, protecting the white man and exposing the black woman or destroying the black woman in the system. So there's no single person or a white person who can be a racist. When they say a white person is a racist, it's just a misdirection of it's those who don't want us to understand what is racism, giving us wrong direction to understand racism as something else which is not. Racism it's a system which is practiced in order to take others' resources for their own, for their benefit, and in order to keep the other people slaves. The reason that is practiced, the reason that one is practiced is because if they did not do so in South Africa, if they did not put white people in power in South Africa, we would not be having white people today here in South Africa. So they had to preserve them through taking the economy and giving it to white people to avoid that the social engineering that would happen if white people becomes poor. That R word is embedded in political, judiciary, and financial system against the original man. It's true. I like the way you are talking this time around, talking in codes, Quindi Makat. Talking in codes, the R word is embedded in the politics. Yeah. The You know what? The colonial people or the colonial masters have created or put in place after conquering in Africa in order to maintain their hold in the land. They set up politics to waste people's time because politics does waste people's time and energy. And they set up the education system to brainwash the black child. They set up the church system to calm down the masses to avoid the revolts. They set up these propaganda media houses running propaganda. I don't know why they don't declare that, because like private media, they should be open. Like myself, I am open that I voted for MK party, open, and open to the fact that I am for the MK party. Why not all the media houses be open, that they actually want this one to take over, instead of like hiding like they're telling the truth, while it's actually all propaganda news. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for joining our live stream. Uh, I think we've had a very nice and very good time together. I want to thank everybody who's joined, all the royals, the kings and queens of the land, all the spirits of our ancestors who've been listening and who've been here, taking us forward. I want to thank everybody for joining the live stream. Uh, and I would like to end the live stream at this moment. Thank you very much.